Okay. Hello, everyone. I felt there was enough energy, or I had enough energy to give a talk. And so I had to find what I call an interest factor. I had to find something interesting about reality worthy of speaking about. And so my attention went to this idea of, first, what can an animal not have in the world, just as a general question. And then, what if we considered that there is an animal in multiple environments? So really what I want to speak about today is not that, just how we're all animals, but also what is an animal in a transcendental environment? See, something I need to read for the viewers. It is about certain things that apply to all animals. Okay? For now, we're taking the perspective of considering the human being is first discovering itself as an animal. So, some things that apply to animals, including humans. Mortality. All animals, including humans, are mortal, which means they have a limited lifespan. While medical advancements have extended human life expectancy, mortality remains an inherent aspect of being a living organism. We have biological needs, physical limitations, environmental dependence, emotional experiences, communication, social structures, genetic inheritance, need for rest and sleep, environmental impact, which results into legacy. But if I was to wonder, let's look up the definition. An animal is a noun, a living organism that feeds on organic matter, typically having specialized sense organs and nervous system and able to respond rapidly to stimuli. Animals are generally distinguished from plants by being unable to synthesize organic molecules from inorganic ones. So they have to feed on plants or on other animals. They're typically able to move about, although this ability is sometimes restricted to a particular stage in the life cycle. The greatest majority of animals are invertebrates, of which there are some 30 phyla. The vertebrates constitute but a single subphylum. So yeah, we have lower animals and higher animals. Okay. So a higher animal would be animals of relatively advanced or developed characteristics, such as mammals and other vertebrates. So the idea is, first we're trying to answer the question to see, okay, what can an animal not have in the world, just as a huge question. The second thing is, we're getting a sense of an animal in accordance to a physical environment. Higher animals are not just in one environment, they are also in their own abstract environment. See, if I was to consider myself as an animal, all these things about the animal apply. I'm mortal. I have biological needs. I have physical limitations. I have an environmental dependence. Many animals, they live in accordance to their environment, right? But human beings are animals that they create new environments. So it's not that, think of it in nature. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? We look at an animal, let's say a bird or a squirrel, a lower animal. I mean, technically, it's considered a mammal, so let me say it this way. We look at a basic animal like a bird or like a squirrel or something. This animal is dependent on its environment. The sign of being an animal is, one, you emerged from the environment, two, you are dependent on the environment. Okay? So you emerged from the environment and you're dependent on that environment you emerged in. But the human being is different. It is not dependent just on the initial environment it was born in. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that creatures have a dependence on their environment in the sense that their environment is them. So for example, if a tree's being cut down, the bird flies off that tree. So the environmental dependence is huge. Now, Mr. Within is saying, hey, we're supposed to be these animals dependent on their environment, which most of us are, but we're also dependent on a psychological internal environment. And by the nature of there being a different world in the presence of another one, there is transcendence. Transcendence is equivalent to climbing a ladder. You can say that you got the ladder, but have you transcended? So, a biological organism dependent on its biological environment, just like, think of it this way. We're like an animal But we're an animal that has had sophisticated relationships with reality. So when I am right now speaking, it's not just like I'm the first human ever to speak. All my ancestors spoke. Many human beings before I was born sculpted and, in some sense, polished language. I think there is a sorrow that haunts humanity, and it is the sorrow of human beings wondering where their life force can go. Because the solution is, if we can serve something greater than us, we would have become a greater being. There's a difference between the man that fights for himself and the man that fights for his kingdom, for his world. There is a difference. There is a difference in intensity, in honor, in justice, in character, because the value at hand is greater. In the question of wondering about an animal in a transcendental environment, it is obviously the case. It's not even a question, right? Why is it a transcendental environment? Is because this creature was not satisfied and the world was not enough for it. Or the world was too big, too meaningless, too unshapeable, so the creature's like, I gotta work with something. My thing is that I am using the future as a compass. And when I wonder about the types of intelligence we have, I can see it now. That human beings, like pet owners, they get cats and they get dogs and they humanize them. Not only do they give them clothing to wear, right, but they speak to them, they communicate to them. So there's a difference between an animal in the forest with other animals and an animal, let's say a dog among other dogs and a dog among a human being. The dog may feel at home among other dogs, right? The dog may feel comfortable playing with those of its own kind, but its destiny is beyond the dog that is not in access to a higher life form. Now, human beings have to consider that the higher types of life forms are not necessarily physical life forms. A higher form, a higher life form could be a higher life beyond the form. Because to me, there's always been a sort of vibe of kind of like, I am not my body, I am navigating, maneuvering, energizing, acting as my body. So we are that part of nature that was like, it's not enough for me to just be a creature bound to an environment. I want to be a creature that surpasses its limits. And it was this simple idea, the surpassing of limits. It is what makes us cry in every film we see. Everything that we see, what makes us tear up is that moment when a deserved ability is accessed. Because ultimately, consciousness has the task of governing its existence. When I was younger, I thought human knowledge was very complex. Little did I realize that it centers around the human experience. it's as if truth is like a sword, and it's like 8 billion, and think of all the human, way more than 8 billion, all the human beings that have ever lived on this planet Earth. It's kind of bizarre. It's like a very strange feeling. You are existing where many before you have existed. So if somebody was like Mr. Within, how many environments are you in right now? I would say I'm in an existential environment. An environment that is made of molecules, matter, physical, kinesthetic, touchable phenomena. But simultaneously, as my physical existence moves, it accumulates meaning subjectively. We are like objects that should be just depending on the objective environment, but we are not. We are depending on the subjective value of life. So we've reached that point where it is no longer enough to be an object. You are not just an object. That is what they tell people, so they don't act anything more than an object. It's way easier to control a singular dimensional object than a very advanced multidimensional presence. You see, it's like the leverage of manifestation is only on the manifest component. That means if I am physical, yes, there's mortality, the physicality will end. But if I am non-physical, what sort of mortality is there or experience is there for a non-physical being? You see, I can say that my body is physical. But if somebody's like, hey man, is your name physical? I'll be like, I can't say my name is physical. Is the idea of you physical? I can't say the idea of me is physical. If somebody says, is the idea of the world physical? I'll be like, I can't say that. So really, it might be hard to accept, but we find ourselves in an unknown video game. And we have character customization privilege. So to me, a creature in a physical reality, if it has a loop of survival, that's kind of like a normal environment. But a transcendental environment means there is multiple normal environments. Who knows? Just as easy it is for us to be an object, you know, it could have been easy this whole time to realize ourselves as subjective or beyond, right? The question is, what is the total limitation on my organism? So I'm an organism, and I'm asking myself, and I'm wondering, what is the limitation? And if I ask, okay, is there physical limitation? Yeah, I can't go overpower like the strongest person, physical person, right? But then I ask myself, in what domains of life do the physical limitations or the boundaries of the environment stop? And I can tell you, everyone has access to a non-physical world. But the way you have access to it is by closing your eyes and realizing you are simultaneously not a creature of attention, a creature in attention. When you realize you are an unknown force in an unknown world, and the way this force has moved has led to the knowledge, you will be shocked by how little the species actually knows and how much of it is a costume game. Do you understand? right? You know, this poor guy, what's his name? Joe Rogan. He was talking about the imposter syndrome, right? And I wondered about it and I realized why. Because to do something new is to be alone. That's the sacrifice. The sacrifice is either you repeat your existence like the ones in an archetypal algorithm as before, or you exist and live as a being that has never existed before like this. You see, it's as if we've created a system where if these creatures don't behave a different way, they become their own punishers. That means, what is normal about a rock in the middle of nowhere? There is nothing normal. It's what a group accepts. Do you understand? And that's what the whole world has been. Just groups of people being like, what do you think? You know, oh, I think this. All right, let's go with that. That's what it has been. Like, where is the human dimension if we are human beings? The human being was a creature, or is still a creature, that once its hunger is fulfilled, it seeks out to satisfy its psychological hunger. Meaning, once you are done eating food, the vitality of new experiences await you. You know what it is? We don't behave like just animals. Okay? What animal can envision 3,600 years ahead? What animal can live ahead behind its eyes than in front of it? We are a transcendental animal. People are like, yo, we're animals, we're not souls. Okay, we're a transcendental animal, an animal where the soul is not per se in the human body. The soul is a dimension where the human body is in. Have you ever considered that? Right? Like, who made it popular where, yo, man, yo, you're a ghost after this life and you go ghost around after this? Like, what is that bullshit? Right? It's energy. Energy has a source. Reality has a source. Its source starts off singular because prior to the idea of a source, it is void. So what that means is the most initial dualism of reality was non-existence and existence. This is by some called, ancients called it Purusha Prakriti, you know. What it is consciousness, matter, or simply stated, if people are like, what do you mean by consciousness? I mean space and matter. There had to be space for there to be stuff. But if stuff is a quality of space and space is a quality of a higher mind, then stuff was never in space to be stuff. Do you see? It's kind of like asking the same question as being like, why is there stuff in space and why is there thoughts in my mind? I believe the answer to these to one of these questions is the same for the other. Like, I totally understand we're an individual biological organism. I'm not saying we're not, but I'm saying, are we just that? Are we just that? Or are we seeing something that if the brains of other organisms were way more evolved, they would see and they would behave? There could be even this argument made that the brain is the firewood for the flame that is the soul. Do you understand? That means imagine you got a bunch of firewood, you lit the firewood, right? The flickering flame, which has the life and animation, is alive, but the firewood is dead, right? So it's as if a completely different chemical property, reaction, relationship connected to a completely different chemical relationship. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying that the way we're being intelligent is either an illusion, either an extension of non-intelligence, which doesn't make sense really. All human beings are staring at a landscape. You're looking at some scene. And if you're intelligent, you wonder what role you have to play. And most likely, if you've lived a lot in this life, you've already found a couple roles and couple archetypes to live through. All right. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up. It all started from the idea of what can animals not have in the world? Basically, they can have things that are accessible in their environment. Some animals we see, lesser life forms than us, they don't have access. So we can say to be an intelligent being is to have an access or to have an evolutionary membership. Okay, so we have access to a type of conscious view through the eyes of an organism that can consider a sort of linear chronological a gradual evolution in time, but with the realization in that in every moment it has considered time, it can also consider another moment of time overlaid on that time. I can look at my watch and also remember what I ate yesterday, right? The simultaneity of the instances does not bother the biological organism, in the sense that we have such a heightened ability, in the same way that you can say the neck of a bird moves as it lands on a branch, the neck of a sparrow when it scans its environment. With such instantaneous angle shifting, the human mind has an ability to access different versions of Earth. And so this is what the ancients would say, that heaven and hell were not a place per se, just a location of a messed up place or a great place, but they were suggestions that your state of mind converted the texture of the place you're in. So it's not just where you physically are, but it's how you non-physically see where you physically are. So, in the consideration of what makes that, in the consideration that right now, like there's many people, they're like, yo, we're not transcendental, we're just an animal. Well, guess what if the environment is transcendental? What if the world is transcendental, that the self is in, therefore instantaneously rendering the self as transcendental, right? It's kind of like, yo, I'm not spiritual, but my world is. Guess what? I am too. There are so many ways to look at the world that it's almost as if the world is designed not to be completely seen. Intentionally, this conscious world is designed to have hidden corners, to have impenetrable shadows, meaning that it is a system designed not for what's in it, but for all that can be in it. So what I'm trying to say is that there could be a view where you're just one self, and there could be this view you're just one self in one world. Or there could be this, there's this view, there's just one world, there's one self, then there's many selves, there's many worlds. There's many selves in one world, there's many worlds in one self. Both these sentences can be seen to be valid. And then we come to the point where we're like, what do? We thought it was complex in front of our eyes. Guess what? We got another world to deal with. Dear viewers, dear consciousness in the realm, you are a double-edged sword. You're walking in a subjective realm simultaneously as you're walking in an objective one. My voice may be reaching your ear from a physical position, right? But what my voice means is a non-physical receiving. So an advanced civilization would be pretty much something in the lines of, okay, how do we consider, or what is the most advanced position of self? It's multiple advanced selves. What is the most advanced position of the world? Multiple worlds. So the most advanced civilization of the most advanced being in the most advanced civilization will actually be the simultaneous experience of many beings in many advanced civilizations. You see, these are like levels. Level 1, just creatures. Level 2, civilization. Okay? So one self, one world. Many advanced beings in one advanced civilization. As many advanced civilizations as there are as many beings. And really, the most advanced being is not an individual. Sorry to break it to all those people who thought they were alpha, who thought they were powerful, who thought they were elite. You're just a chip in the chips bag. we're just a species. But the role our species has is beyond physicality. So another good title for this episode would have been something like a physical creature destined, the non-physical destiny of physicality. Pretty much the idea right now, it's clear to me. If somebody was like Mr. Within, is the type of advanced civilization you're envisioning for the Earth the most advanced civilization fathomable? No. But for Earth, yes. The most advanced civilization would pretty much start from the idea of what is the most advanced life form, and the most advanced life form is not an entity in a civilization. So it's kind of hilarious that the most advanced being is beyond an advanced civilization. Before being beyond an advanced civilization, it's all beings in all civilizations. So right now, who you're listening to is at that level of the game where I'm a self in a world. I'm one self in one world. But okay, let me say it this way. I started off as just there was a world. Then I started off becoming conscious of myself, so there was a self in a world. Then, through visions of religion and other sophistication of metaphysical positions to the physics, it's one self in many worlds. But as you find a new world, a new self emerges. Sometimes ability is found by the mere entrance, by the mere addition of information that recontextualizes the previous scope. So to answer the question, what can animals not have? They cannot have the whole world. But never has it been said that they can't be it. You see, existentially, you think my body is just my body, this physical body? Existentially, I am the whole totality of existence. You think my presence is separate from the presence of everything? No. But the psychological overlay of my own intelligence upon the world that I am move. Let me tell you this way. At some point you realize there is no answer to an infinite problem. So you accept the nature of reality. In accepting the nature of reality, reality isn't reality. The most advanced being in the most advanced world would be the most advanced world being. Thank you for listening. And honestly, we are an animal that found itself in a transcendental environment. This renders us multidimensionally privileged. We see way more than anything else, physically it seems. And we can do way more. So ask yourself, this world you're in now, it has waited 4.5 billion years for your performance. Oh, whoever you are listening. Everyone is waiting for your greatest performance, including me. Everyone is waiting for the greatness that you can see to bring that others cannot see to even bring. Once you live for your world, you'll realize you've been living for your greatest self's outcome. And the final victory is accepting the greatness of being. in all dimensions. An advanced being would be so advanced that to itself it would not be advanced anymore. So we can say after the most advanced level attainable, the next level attainable is back to simplicity. It's an oscillation. Somebody in the chat section has reminded me of a Rumi quote. Rumi says, "Do not be satisfied with stories. Go unfold your own myth." You right now, what if somebody came up to you and said, "Yo man, you have $1 billion right now." And you're like, "Whoa, I have that much value right now? Where is it?" Imagine the value. What was more valuable than $1 billion was the ability to advance in anywhere. Oh, you conscious being who have come to the great workstation of advancement. Your work as an advanced being begins when you care about the advancement of everything. It doesn't matter if you believe in God, if you don't believe in God. If you believe in God, you're already on that path. You're serving the greatest, for the greatest, in the greatest way of your belief. But to build an advanced civilization means that before we are devoured by extinction, inner or outer, or by non-existence, or by some unnecessary whatever, before the human species exits the stage, it must perform in such a way where the human species' effort for the advancement of civilization gets a standing ovation by all consciousness in the totality of the cosmos. That means if the whole world isn't slow hand clapping for how advanced we are, we're not doing it right. Trust me, the moment a sign that you know that there's an advanced being already living in an advanced civilization is how animals behave. Human beings do not trust their world. They usually need excuses, some reason, something, some third party to, in some sense, trust life. But imagine you were a being that saw your species had overreacted to the vast meaninglessness of the sudden awakening after 4.5 billion years of evolution to your own demise. It's like the most fucked up, beautiful thing that can happen this life. It's fucked up because we evolved so far just to notice that we will die. Do you understand? Like, we have to be proud of this. It took us 4.5 billion years to be conscious of our mortality, to care enough for its influence to change it, right? Everybody's acting like a fucking time traveler. Everybody. Who we kidding? Anybody who has a regret, it's like that's time traveling vibes. And why are we acting like time travelers? Because we care for tomorrow. Because I gotta prepare, I gotta, put food on the table for tomorrow. But for how many tables do you want to put food for? There's some people who are like, yo man, I want to put food on the table for my kids, my grandkids, and my great grandkids. And that's it. 3 generations, leave me alone, life. But there are some people who are like, yo, what about those children who will be born in the year 2073? What about those children born what about the children born in the year 2222? What about the children born in the year 3333? What about the children born in the year 4444? Do you see what I'm saying? You are not human until you care for the total human endeavor. And 1/3 of the human endeavor is what is it gonna do in the future. This freaks me out, guys. You know, it freaks me out that the species is so oblivious to its future that it has found time to destroy itself in the present. You know, it wasn't just like, yo, it was so cool, we evolved and we became conscious. No, it was an advanced weapon. So we can protect ourselves from the future. So we can notice it's coming. Do you know how many animals and species, they don't know the future is coming, suddenly some intensity collides with them and that's it, they're done. I think I've died in my dreams 5 times, and those dreams are very strange. Why? Because after the death, I'm standing still in the moment. That means you really know you weren't the body when after the body you're still around. In an advanced civilization, human beings would have found an alternative source of food. We won't be living on Earth. Civilization 1.0 couldn't imagine living in the sky. Civilization 2.0 would be celebrating in the sky. Not because we effed up Earth, because we made it plan B. This is really Mr. Within strategy. I've written a book on this. You know, people say, tend to see anger as a bad trait. You know, for me even, you know, I even hold, sometimes when I'm really calm, I hold this view that anybody who's gotten angry wasn't smart enough to figure it out. Anybody who's violent, you weren't smart enough to figure out a non-physical solution. That's it. And there's moments in life where you realize you definitely are not smart enough. You get angry. But it's different. It's different getting angry where something from the past is destroyed. That leads to a type of anger. Then there's an anger where something in the present is like living in a certain vitality, and that vitality is disturbed. You feel an anger, right? But then there is the anger of what we could have done and didn't. This is the worst form of wrath. The worst form of wrath is not people from the past judging you. The worst form of wrath is not self-destruction in the present. The worst form of wrath is like when you could have done something and you just didn't. There is no worse feeling. If we have this feeling that we could have been advanced, we could have done something advanced, we could have built an advanced civilization, we could have experienced an advanced collective movement of human behavior on Earth, and yet we didn't. Why? We were lazy, tired, out-resourced, or just too much in an effed up world to try to care to see it in a different way. The ancient Greeks were so advanced that their premise was like, some of the wise ones were like, yo, to tame the savageness of man and make gentler the life of this world. Why? Because I don't want someone to be biting my hand when I'm writing this poetry. That's why. The ability, what the output of our mind far surpasses the output of our body. So to limit a mind to a physical caution is what I'm trying to say, is that the most evil thing that can happen is to not let the smart peacefully create. That's true evil. There's an evil that's just like, yo, I'm gonna lock the door, you know. But then there's an evil that there is an open door and intentionally doesn't let. Let me tell you, if you have been a human being that at some point in this life you were like, yo, F this species, I'm gonna go against it, I'm gonna give you some advice. At the speed of light, do a switcheroo and live for the only world that you have access to now. To destroy in a world that it took so long to create is stupid. It's dark and stupid, you know? That means there is dark stupidity. And bright stupidity would just be luck. I don't have children, but I don't want them to be in an unadvanced world. That means it's like, yo, what's the greatest gift we can give? The gift of advancement. Yo, man, there's no greater gift than an advanced civilization to all. The advanced civilization is the gift that everyone gives to everyone. Yo, I'm going to talk about advanced civilizations so much probably that people are going to start dreaming about advanced civilizations, actually. Do you know that fear deletes potential? And human beings are afraid to change, but they have to if they want to survive. So the question is, we all have to change. We can at least consciously decide what we're all going to change to. We need a new human universal rights. We need a new code of honor. We need the honor of the advanced civilization. You have to be right now feeling as if your existence is fuel for the greatness of your species. Just by you existing, something has to progress. Just like my pronunciation of the word progress needs to progress. If there is one thing you do for me, you might be a person who, you know, I didn't know there was a term for it, but the term is called ninja watchers. If one thing you can do for me, one thing in this lifetime, this is not a promise to the secret of the greatest enlightenment, it's just an assignment. Try to fathom the most advanced version of your world, of your civilization, and try to visualize, imagine the most advanced version of yourself. And if you're blessed enough to see a glimpse of it, live in accordance to that, because there's two options. Either we're all start building an advanced civilization, or we start behaving like, where is my advanced civilization? Where is my advancement? You know, it's like you walk into a restaurant, where's the waiter? Where is my advanced, you know, effort? You know, where is my advanced honor? I'm telling you, put the word advanced in front of everything and you will find an advanced world soon. Either you'll find it staring at you in the mirror or, you know, outside your door. An advanced civilization is the future's birthright. All right, guys, I wanted to end it, but I can't tell if the last comment in the chat section is a question or not. What comes of this, of the human species, let me tell you. Pretty much either infinite continuity, there's either inner extinction or outer extinction. We either stop being human or we endlessly remain human. We either, so pretty much inner extinction is when we stop behaving like human beings. Outer extinction is something like a meteor hits Earth, or there's a virus or something. You know, what I find I'm doing is, like, there could be this view that, all right, because the human being has a mental dimension, a psychological dimension, and it also has a biological existential dimension. So we can say that there is the idea of the advanced civilization, and then there is the actual advanced civilization. So right now, this might be a bit of an arrogant thing for me to claim, but I think that these lectures of mine could be actually shifting the inner vision of the species on what it truly deserves. You know how fucking insane it would be if at the end of this life, right, like I transitioned from this realm, and then I was like, yo, who were the 10,000 talks for? And imagine, like, some voice says it was for you. I'd be like, what the fuck? It would be, it's for all. My mind cannot fathom any greater action than a win-win situation for everything. It's possible. It's possible to be smart enough, to not be stupid enough, to still have the potential to be great. You can be smarter than your stupidity if you care for something that has a greater value. I want you as a human being to just wonder what the most advanced version of you looks like. Nobody told this to me, right? It was something that it just occurred to me, and I was like, why wasn't it said? Why? Like, you don't understand. Like, a part of me, you know, honors and appreciates all the teachers I've had in this life, but a part of me hates the educational system, but I didn't hate it at the time. This is a post-educational system kind of hatred I have for it. For how quiet all the teachers remained. How many people in this life were there that saw ahead what was going to happen and did not utter a single word? Do you know, it breaks my heart how many people saw that I was making mistakes and didn't say anything. But that's the human style. You're solo until you find a bigger victory. An advanced civilization is the greatest victory of a species in the void. One of the greatest victories, because after the physical relationship with one's world, you embark on a non-physical relationship. Like, I'm not just living a physical life here. It's kind of like this might sound bizarre, but there's like, just like we have two eyes that see the same, it's like the idea of me is in a symbiosis with the body of me. So it's like my body is living in the space of awareness of my mind. My mind is protected by the body. It's kind of genius. Nature is genius. Biology is genius. Like, think about it. It's protecting the brain inside the organism, but what the brain is doing is to help the organism live outside, just by the mere fact that a biological organ, which is in an internal biological environment, the brain is in the skull, yet it is preparing the outside of it. So it's this bizarre thing where information from the outside world enters our eyes, goes and hits our inside world, it changes the world inside of us, and then the whole outside world changes. To be honest, I am not a person devoid of metaphysics. I'm a human being who I believe in God, and I believe in the real presence of an original energetic source to being. And I have pushed aside anything, like, I don't know how to tell you. The idea of, it's like religion humbled me from the spirituality that had no filter. Pretty much, I went to talk about the secrets of nature and I realized it's too soon. So my designated as a let's say, as some sort of, let's consider a transcendental environment would render me a transcendental being. As a transcendental being, my beings, the value of what I am is not based on just what I am here. So there's a view that you're in the present, you were in the past, you go into the future. There's also a view that you are a tri-being. That there is the past, the present, and the future. From a Christian context, it would be like, I mean, maybe I shouldn't speak about it. I'll say this. Out of all the ideas on this earth, the idea of an advanced civilization sent alarms to my soul. It was like ding, 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 ding. It's like the moment I could fathom that the future's greatness dictates the value of what the past did. So what I will do in the future suggests who I will be, more than what I am or I was. As you walk towards greatness, you will find yourself on the same mountain as all the other beings. And there will come a time where you need to be alone with the source of life. That's God. You need to be alone with existence and how it's original, how it's originating. Your original state is the reverence of a world that couldn't make a mistake. Thank you for listening.